I'm imagining myself watching TV. And there it is!
You hear that? I made it! I'm on TV!
Just think how a screen this size will enhance the majesty of the Metropolitan Opera. Or the thrilling artists of the Bolshoi.
You're quite a Bolshoi artist yourself.
Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne would never take advantage of our innate gullibility.
Ooh. I went from game to game, I aged, I grew and lost my innocence. I soon became enraged by each and every bad experience. The sprite you knew was gone.
The ratings say we have 0% viewers.
There are some children who can get themselves far enough away from the fantasy not to be frightened by it. But there are a lot of very frightening things on television.
Escapism exists simultaneously as this incredible lifeline to stories and worlds otherwise beyond our imaginations, and something to avoid as the reality of the world sets in. It's a perilous tightrope to walk, filled with enriching tales that go on to reflect our own lives and help us grow and tackle challenges both within ourselves and to be faced in the future, going hand in hand with the danger of falling in too deep, the escape becoming insular and only benefiting itself. And, you're doing it right now. I get it. We want to keep living in a world where Deltarune is more important than repaying loans or working on that thing you're putting off. Please let me earn some ad revenue and then you're free to go back to that. But as many stories as we have exploring incredible worlds we'd like to live in forever, or even what it means if we linger in these worlds too long and what it means to grow, there's more than just the world and its explorer. What it means to create that escapism. The responsibility you hold, your worth being placed in a world that inevitably others will have to leave for their own growth, and where you go or even morally are supposed to go after the spotlight has moved on from your little show. There's no real solid answer to this, only an exploration of a simple question. Who is more desperate? The performer who would do anything to keep eyes on them just like the good old days to get one more smile? Or the one that keeps watching in spite of it all to keep them going? Anyway, here's a funny TV man with the answer.
Previously on Deltarune, the gang learned the nature of the dark fountains. When a lightener, someone from the world of light and regularity, strikes the earth with a pointy thing and enough determination, they can form a font of pure darkness to envelop the surrounding area. Wowza! But that isn't all, folks. That darker than darkness makes the mundane into the insane, transforming ordinary objects into what they represent to those around them. Your card becomes a real joker, your old stuffed animal into a wise old sage. Your what the is that thing? You die! And your laptop into the dummy-bommy that online can provide. Woo. When last we left our heroes, Chris heartlessly struck the earth in their own home to open things up for themselves. What exciting adventures awaits? Don't click off this tab! We've got all you need right on this channel.
And now, our feature presentation.
Mr. and Tenna, the personality emerging from Chris's family TV set, takes the primetime slot as the face of Deltarune's third chapter, and is a massive bomb of isolated nostalgia first and foremost. Introduced with all of the early 90s CG he could possibly get his hands on, and sprited with a pre-rendered graphics finish to look like he was ripped right out of Clay Fighter, Tenna is celebrating all of the graphical and presentational innovations he can. The cutting edge of yesteryear long since dulled into uselessness. Everything about Tenna is a mixture of showmanship and self-doubt. Long before this dark world emerged, you could pass by this humble little set in Chris's home, noting just how underutilized and outdated the old CRT was. But just before the darkness gave him life, Chris had a friend over to watch television with. Tenna was useful. Tenna was entertaining. And he would cling on to this moment, the first chance in so long to give all that he was worth to show his stuff and put on the most entertaining show possible for those he loves. Tenna's entire world is a game show set, themed around Chris and their family and friends, with challenges and trivia all themed around Chris's life. The things they grew up watching and playing on TV and home consoles. An escapist paradise celebrating nostalgia. And it's actually just really nice and good. Mr. Tenna's Marvelous Mystery Board turns the RPG gameplay of Deltarune into a Zelda 1 inspired adventure game, with Chris, Ralsei, and Susie all just hanging out on a couch playing video games together. Tenna provides running commentary over the game while giving away little hints. Battles are recontextualized to give you extra bonus points if you beat them both quickly and without taking too many hits, so you can really flex on your friends. Little bro shows up with the knockoff controller and wacky gameplay. It's incredibly cute. And while these segments do rely on Deltarune's charming bits of dialogue and sense of humor as much as any other, it manages to emulate a perfectly cozy environment with the crew. Chris's friends will cheat on trivia by copying each other's answers, controllers get switched around, and there's a lot of messing around, imitating friends and razzing them a little. There's even big set-piece moments emulating big multiplayer games like Overcooked or Rock Band. And the feeling of needing to be extra good to compensate for that one friend who's going totally off the rails. In this entirely single-player game, Tenna manages to bring up those feelings of gathering around, playing an old console, making snarky comments and laughing along. And the heroes react in turn. Susie has been a character who's long since struggled with loneliness and isolation, but through interacting with Chris, feels like she can be herself and have friends. But mainly only in these dark worlds. In the real world, there has to be some push from someone else to get her over that line and drop her guard. And when she was excited to bring Ralsei, a friend who only exists in this dark world, over, both were met with the knowledge that they can't. Ralsei unable to leave the dark. Here, in Tenna's game, they can mess with each other all they want, play games with one another, have fun. Heck, Tenna is so taken with Susie wanting to watch a monster movie on him before all this started, he tries to prep a secret minigame where she could be a big, scary monster with Crash Bandicoot spins and fulfill her fantasies. And for all of that, Susie takes time out of herself to thank him for all of the effort and good that he's trying to do and is succeeding at. As much as Tenna needed this, she needed it too. But lingering in that place is a very tenuous thing, always just 1 second, one whim away from vanishing again. Tenna is doing undisputed good with his show. Legitimately, this is a fun, safe, good thing for these kids to go through during its first round. But the host knows that just one wrong move and everyone will unplug and walk away. And he's real bad at keeping the camera rolling on his own. Tenna's been cast to the side for so long, the cathode ray troubadour is far out of his depth with every single interaction. His top stars are emissaries of the sun and clouds, because how else are you going to learn what the weather is without checking the television? He tries to appeal to Chris's sensibilities by talking about a cool older kid who would let them watch inappropriate music videos while learning songs on her guitar. Not realizing that that cool older kid has been long gone, and no one would like to talk about that. In fact, it's Tenna's relationship with Chris that keeps coming up. They're the star of the show, after all, and they just won't react like they used to. Tenna tries his best, of course, reminding Chris of the cooking shows they used to watch with their mom and brother, how they'd laugh and play pretend and make fun of everything, asking nostalgic questions about the sort of characters Chris and their brother would play as in video games. Even barring off parts of the little Zelda game that don't have to do with a fun adventure. No need to dwell on those extra parts or the grunt work, just focus on the best parts of nostalgia. But while the player controlling Chris can respond and earnestly say, "I love TV," Chris themselves remain stoic. If the player tries to choose an incorrect answer about Chris on one of the trivia sections, the Lightner will cough and try to correct the answer, including some questions that the player might think they know the answer to. But tastes change, and the limited look into Deltarune that you have from behind your screen is just as limited as Tenna's. He can't get one of his first viewers to crack a smile again. And unfortunately, cracking is exactly what the insecure entertainer is best at. Tenna has to beg in order for the Lightners to even star in his show, playing a guilt trip card as hard as he possibly can. Every single one of his actions is packed to the gills with showmanship, but throw him off even a little or don't compliment the cool tropic of love he spent a while learning to program, and he'll be reduced to whimpering and wondering if you're really enjoying the show. He'll scrap entire boss fights when his actors won't comply. Especially ironic since the entire fight was supposed to be a massive outpouring of praise just to show how much you love TV. And the mailroom where he's received fan letters over the years? Tenna is so utterly, painfully aware that if he stops for even a second, if you stop playing the game, if he stops being fun or outdated, it's over for him. And he'll overcompensate as much as possible to make sure your butt stays in its seat, by obscuring just how weak of a foundation his show is really built on. And when you press on, really interact, get his guard down and see what all this nostalgia is built on, it's truly sad. If the player manages to get an S rank at one of Tenna's game boards, Chris will be invited to the special S-Class VIP room. And it sucks! Wow. Things are broken down. Oh my god, who let this glooby assless dunce in here? You get nothing but slop and a free smile from vending machines, and the dude behind a curtain sticks a mystery poker into your hand for no reason, which you can then use as a weapon.
This is fine.
But most importantly, this little electric plug here, they remember what real gaming was like. Tenna might have made a curated form of it to bring people together and make jokes and teach the dangers of quicksand, but there's a more straightforward form of escapism here. The original game Tenna edited. One where you can quietly grind for EXP all by yourself and find secret keys. Each time you clear one of Tenna's games, or otherwise find your way back to the green room, you can ditch your friends to get just a little further down this path, using up everything and everyone, including yourself, to get further. Until eventually... Oh hey! They're here too! That's nice, but... There's really no way forward, and I don't see any way how to make us stronger. I guess... Multiplayer only makes things harder anyway. This is a wonderful sequence. Chris actively fighting the player's control at times to keep them from meeting the Shadow Mantle bonus boss. The player needing to isolate themselves more and more from the beautiful escapism Tenna was so desperate to create, and... Guess he really isn't needed either. The entire backstage sequence is played with a suffocating feeling of isolation and wrongness. The debilitation of falling too far into yourself being played out into an actually good 2D Zelda boss fight. One of the first in its genre. And you do get a hefty gameplay reward from this in the form of the Shadow Mantle, an armor that greatly reduces damage from dark and star-based attacks, and is just kinda good in general. But I appreciate showing the loneliness needed to get it. What happens when you stop watching TV for others, or even for what's on, but just because it's there. As the player progresses through Tenna's show, they can find their way into more areas that he'd really rather them not be by solving number puzzles or playing Donkey Kong on this man's bosom. And arriving carefully in cold storage, captured into sleep as the grand prize in a massive gachapon ball, is Chris's mother, Toriel, the very last person to still watch the old CRT. And she's cozy, the AC is on and she's listening to her favorite tunes. Tenna would never want to harm a member of the family that gave him love and purpose. But he was given a pretty sweet gig. As long as he was able to keep Chris, Susie, and Ralsei occupied, the Roaring Knight, a herald of darkness looking to open up dark fountains all over and plunge the world into a cataclysm, would grant him an endless audience to always value him. And the only way Tenna could think to do that to his friends and family he so desperately wants to love him was to entertain, to keep them spellbound, to make sure that this time they wouldn't all leave. They used to gather around him every Christmas, watching holiday specials together, eating pie, everyone smiling and laughing. But they all left, disappeared, got sick, went away, divorced, didn't have a reason to watch anymore. But now, he could have as many as he wanted. All of his favorite viewers, all to himself. He'd have to give up Tori to the night. He's awfully sorry about that. But what wouldn't you give to have your greatest presents under the tree? One happy family. They just need to remember that they love TV.
Quick! Change the channel!
Tenna forces one bonus, endless round on his favorite contestants. The audience is literally on fire, they're all trapped in prize balls, and none of them are playing the video game anymore. But who cares? Your tubular host has you covered. He'll toss out nice and easy challenges. Look, he'll even expedite it for you. All you have to do is act and tell him how much you love TV. Or answer these questions where every choice is a winner. You can't possibly lose. But for every fun little challenge he puts in your way, the heroes have the option to resist, to do nothing, to simply not watch. And that's the wrong answer. Tenna doesn't want to penalize you. He doesn't want you to be hurt, but you need to be reminded of just how much you really need his programming. He'll even come across handy-dandy health springs in his one viewer stream to top you off. So you can all do this forever, and ever, and ever. Tenna has a perfect captive audience in an endless loop. And he loses it. All of the shadow guys he's contracted to help him, glad to join in on the show before, are berated and forced to work. Tenna tries to keep putting the same old minigames out there, but they're deteriorating. His explanations becoming nearly nonsensical in their frantic delivery, as all he's gotta say is,
"Something's coming up the plumbing for Luigi's in a bind."
He's so sorry. It was a mistake, the pipes weren't ready. Sorry the instruments weren't tuned and the rhythm game broke down. Sorry we don't have any monster movies lined up for a marathon, but you know who else can run a marathon? All Tenna has to do is play an infinite rerun and he'll get everything he wants. But he can't do it. He's so desperate for the real love and admiration he used to feel that he wants to try, wants to prove he's not outdated, wants to pull out all the stops. And because of that, he bombs. He tosses out an enemy representing a TV remote just to have something out there new for his battle scene. And all Chris and the gang have to do is mess with the settings until they can reach that off switch and escape the program. But you're going to come back, right? You always come back! He'll chase you down through the studio. He's got actors under contract who will be glad to stop you to keep the show.
Thank you.
Okay, well he's got his all-stars, the weather power couple who... Oh, come on! What the hell's an app? At least we still have incentive to...
Oh my god.
Fine! We don't need it! As long as we have production value. Mike? No, come on. Don't you dare leave me like he left me. He was... You. Tenna's ultimate breakdown sees him push away everyone else in his TV world, working them to the bone to try and get the proper results, tossing out all sorts of encounters and mini-games, and your fluffy boy is a horse now in order to recapture the glory he wants. And he can't. He's got no one left to watch, no one left to produce. Everything that was so tightly in his control, every eye glued to his screen, has slipped through his fingers. Everyone can see the pitiable mess of emotions he is. He can understand where you're coming from, but no one is willing to compromise. So he'll do it himself, even if there's no one there to say it with him. Tenna's final fight is one massive send-up to the chapter before. Score 1,000 points against him to prove you've got a handle on all he has to offer, and this fella is old hat. TV Time is a strange chapter boss fight. Tenna himself isn't particularly powerful, having 3 attacks with a couple variations and none all that tricky to dodge. He can introduce a literal split-screen perspective to try to throw you off, but that's all he's got. Smoke and mirrors covering up entertaining but fairly basic patterns. Even Tenna will admit this, as if you start slugging him instead of going for the high score, he'll remark nervously on, "Hey, my HP seems to be going down." Isn't that weird? Okay, please don't. As the Shadow Mantle will say if you check Tenna with it equipped on Chris, despite his size, he's surprisingly fragile. The actual difficulty from the Tenna fight comes if you love TV. The only reasonably effective way to rack up points is to challenge Tenna to minigames that he lacks the proper crew for, so he'll just do everything himself. Who needs cowboys for you to shoot when Tenna can be all the cowboys? Can't afford the rights for the rhythm game song? Just play the notes of his boss music right in the middle of the fight. Wherever it is, I'm sure you could pick it up. Taking damage during any minigame hurts the entire party upon its conclusion, and that spread damage tends to be a lot more effective at whittling you down than the Star Ring or Rimshot specials. The more you actually like Tenna, the more of a bite he has trying to keep you glued to that screen. Once you hit about 500 points or 50% of his health, Tenna will start tossing out minigames whether you ask for them or not, sometimes putting on a double feature and stringing one directly into the other, or remixing the cowboy one so, oops, dodge my bullets now, idiot! And once you cross that 1,000 point threshold or get him real weak, Tenna pulls out an all-channel marathon. Every game he's got, rapid-fire swapping between each one, doing everything he can to whittle your team down, everything to prove that his brand of nostalgia's got it beyond any form of moving on. You may have forgotten how to smile, but don't forget that I showed you how. No matter how far you retreated to yourself, how you might pass me by every day, how you might have grown and where life may have taken you, I still got it. I can fix you. I can be what you need. I can do anything. Tenna never was a fighter, just someone who once remembered how to make you laugh and cry. He wanted to be the fix-your-family guy. But ultimately, it's the bonds you've made outside of him, or what you may have turned to instead, that let you move on. But his story doesn't have to end alone. Susie talks to the defeated ringmaster as he shrinks into worthlessness, and tells him about her struggles, her loneliness, everyone rejecting her, and the pain of having to start over when she felt like she was genuinely bonding, and how that emptiness was filled by the friends around her. And if there's a place in this world for her, there's gotta be someone who can use a vintage TV set. And willing to work together, Tenna agrees. So happy and eager to find a home, establishing a hall of fame for the guests that'll take him into the future, giving Toriel back, going against the night, and... depending on your actions, Tenna may never get the chance. If you did not recruit all of the various foes and actors that Tenna hired out, there'll be no one around willing to give you a hand in fixing him after he's been torn to pieces. Tenna is the first character in Deltarune's main story who can permanently die. The TV set breaking in the light world, the only comment on it being how likely it is that Toriel's gonna throw him out. And while you can fix him up and look for a new home for the entertainer, Chapter 3 of Deltarune, which had revolved all around the guy to this point, ends with no resolution for him. Just his temporary demise, a struggle against an impossibly strong enemy, and a failure to save those around you. But you have seen these steps before. Someone begging for freedom, willing to be your friend, move on from their endless suffering, make any deal for the sake of connection. And he's been here the whole... oh god, no!
Now I'm back.
Every so often, Tenna will let little bits of his past slip out while he's freaking out, alluding to an old business partner he had once. And it's... look, the guy literally makes a giant papier-mâché effigy of the dude for you to destroy as the final boss of the Susie-Zilla game. We know who the...
you've got mail.
Man he keeps saying he hates is. Spampton G. Spampton, the little freedom-seeking gremlin representing spam emails from Chapter 2 who tried to murk you for your heart-shaped object, don't worry about it, keeps popping up as a consistent bit of for Tenna to try and keep under wraps. The two were meant to work together, Spampton teaching Tenna how to be a real big shot by expanding his reach beyond the tubes into the World Wide Web. But just before they could seal the deal, Spampton got a phone call that no one else could hear and vanished, falling into an abyss of self-destruction and
10 things that aren't Jackie Chan
that would leave him with nothing. Tenna wasn't just betrayed by this, he views it as the moment that ruined him, where everyone started leaving. And Spampton, selfish and life-ruining, as the ultimate...
I learned it by watching you!
...he could become. The guys even share the same musical motif multiple times over. But Spampton, while driven mad by forces beyond his comprehension, could see things far outside of the box Tenna was trapped in. Deltarune contains a prophecy, a set of predictions and stories that seem to preordain the fate of the world, that the story will follow as long as all of the players are in their proper spots. Desperate to break free of his station, Spamton is presumed to know at least some of this prophecy, and with it, could know of this one simple passage. And in spite of all that, Spamton does care. If the player battled against Spamton Neo and has his special item in their inventory, a secret scene can play out in the depths of Tenna's studio. Seeing that Tenna carried a memento of their time together with him, Spamton wills himself back into existence for just this brief moment to comfort his friend. Oh, okay, great. This one failure essentially dooms Tenna. His refusal to see Spamton as anything more than a blemish, keeping him from hearing anything the little guy has to say. Tenna keeps saying that he wants to create Neo shows and Neo programs. The same power Spamton had already achieved and failed to do anything with. And most telling, if you check on Tenna with Spamton's Dealmaker equipped, the glasses will allow Chris to see the truth of the matter. The tragic businessman at the now of the story. Both partners grew to hate each other. Both grew to see their weakness, and both were too late to stop each other's downfall. So, which is a more pathetic desperation? The one who can see the puppet strings and wriggles in vain against them to their own destruction? Or the one who chooses to remain blind, relies on the pole, and is shocked when they run out of use and fall into eternal disrepair? There is one last interaction to make with Tenna, and it's the reason I ultimately wanted to make all of this. If you manage to repair the guy, and let's be frank, most people playing Deltarune are gonna, you have the option of simply keeping him in your home. There, he's still in danger of getting thrown out, but he gets to be a part of your castle town, hang out, insult the lack of cake on rules, which is always appreciated. You get to continue to enjoy Tenna as a character for as many funny interactions as are left with him in the game. But in Chapter 2, you could interact with this little ghosty house where a shy starlet asked if you could bring him some entertainment sometime. This is heavily implied to be another showbiz-related character who appeared in Undertale, Metatime. Yeah. With him, you have to leave Tenna behind entirely, but get to fulfill the promise you made to the showman, to give someone something to grow with, learn from, entertain, and love. Potentially enough to inspire them who they want to be. It's what I love about where Deltarune leaves the discussion on escapism. You're not wrong to cling to nostalgia and want to keep it close, nor are you wrong to want to relive the best times you had sharing things with others. But all art, shows, personalities are a form of communication, a friendship. And whether that's passing along that spirit to others, inspiring them, or keeping what we hold dearest closest so that we can do the same, that's the true meaning of joy that we create from entertainment, I think. When I look back at the stuff I've made, I know people are going to fall out of love with it. Forget about it. Leave. And when you make something that people truly care about, that reflects aspects of themselves and lets them get deeply engrossed in your words or your worlds, you do whatever it takes to keep that. It's this euphoric feeling of sharing a mutual smile or tear with your audience that's truly indescribable. It's a dangerously all-consuming two-way street, where you can see the points of others, where you can feel the mistakes others can make, where you can know when it's not working and is drifting further apart. And I think there's beauty to a story that decides to tackle that from all aspects, showing falling into it at its worst and the healing and comfort that comes from it at its best. And I hope that you, at least, found something a little entertaining from my silly rambling about cartoony game characters. Or at least I hope you're not, in spite of watching all the way to the end. Whether you stick around or move on, thank you. That is all that's embodied in the desperation of
Mr. and Tenna's TV show.